Welcome to Cinderella Has Cellulite, a show about love, romance, and how to make it all last. Relationship expert Donna Weitzman draws on her years of experience in and out of the dating game to unwrap the mysteries behind the all-too-familiar fairy tale. Tune in to find out the secrets behind first dates, second marriages, and everything in between. From his friends and her friends to X's and O's. This is Cinderella Has Cellulite. And now, your host, Donna Weitzman.
Hey, Zach.
Hey, Donna.
How are you today?
I'm doing pretty well, Donna. How are you?
Good, good. I haven't seen you in a week or so.
It's been a minute.
And I always miss you when I'm gone.
Likewise.
Have you been on the radio a lot?
No, not as much as I used to be, which is a shame. I kind of miss it.
Oh.
But I've been working on some other internal projects, which have been good.
I see. Hello, viewers. Hello, listeners out there.
How about yourself? I mean, you usually.
Where have I been? I can't even. Oh, I went to Sausalito, California. Oh, my gosh, it's so pretty.
Sausalito, northern or southern California?
It's in Northern California. It's right over the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh, wow.
From San Francisco.
Okay.
Very romantic for those of you out there who are looking for a place for romance.
Yeah.
Sausalito, California.
Any good like vineyards out that way?
Well, if you go a little north of there, yeah.
Just a hair.
We had this beautiful place, a room, because we went out for a party and the bay lapped up underneath our room. How great is that?
Really?
You could hear it at night.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
It was awesome. But you know, this is a big week for romance.
Yeah?
Because you know what's happening?
What's happening?
Harry and Meghan.
And Meghan. Sure. The royal wedding.
Saturday is the day.
You know, I was talking about this on another show. Speaking of doing other radio things, I can't keep up with them. There's too many royals. They're all over the place.
Well, they keep having babies.
I know. See, back in the day, this used to be a very simple thing. There was only so many of them, and then they'd get overthrown, and there'd be more royals, and it's a new family in, and now it doesn't happen.
No, they just proliferate.
Yeah, we're too civil. They just keep growing.
Yeah.
We need to trim that tree. But outside of that, yes, Harry and Meghan. That's this week.
What do you think? You know, the biggest situation going on. There's always a situation with the royals.
Isn't there always?
It's sort of like celebrity.
Yeah.
And the biggest situation now is Meghan Markle's dad is not going to walk her down the aisle.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Do you know about that, Zach?
I had heard some weird drama with the family, and apparently somebody's trying to get a book deal or something.
Yeah.
But I had not heard that he's not walking her down the aisle.
Yeah, they made the announcement today, but they did not say who's walking her down the aisle. So if you were picked, would you go do it?
To walk my daughter down the aisle?
No, Meghan.
Oh, what do you mean? To do what?
They may just pick somebody random. I mean, who knows?
Oh, to walk her down the aisle?
Somebody's got to walk her down the aisle.
Who wouldn't walk her down the aisle? That's the question. What is the deal with the dad? Is there any?
Well, he's had heart surgery.
Okay. And
then a lot of rumors have started, as I understand, about whether he was trying to make money off the photos of getting ready for the wedding. And I believe, I could be wrong, I believe he lives in Mexico.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but I think he had something to do with the movie industry in California, and then he moved to Mexico and I guess was caught, and I'm not saying that in a negative or positive way, of getting money for some photos, getting ready for the royal wedding.
Sure.
And of course the royal family doesn't like those kinds of things.
You know, just from the outset, he had a background in the movie industry and moved to Mexico. Already that sounds a little
strange.
A little sketchy, I'm going to be honest. Yeah, like whatever's going on there sounds a little weird. But that is odd that he wouldn't want to do that. Or maybe he does and he can't. I'm not sure.
I don't know. It's been back and forth. But what do you think about, you've been in a long-term relationship.
Sure.
And maybe there's a wedding on the way. Maybe there's not.
One can only hope.
Yeah. But what do you think about walking the bride down the aisle? Do you think it should be other? I've heard now that mothers walk their daughters down the aisle. That's not unusual.
Oh, wow.
And it's not unusual for the mother and the father to walk the girl down the aisle, the woman. So what's your attitude on that?
Well, weddings first they're an institution. And being an institution, they've been around for a long time. And there's certainly some tradition there that a lot of people have trouble kind of accepting nowadays.
Now, do you think you're a traditionalist?
I do, but in a very odd way, in a very dreamlike way where reality doesn't get in the way. Like, for example, price tags. Like, Who wouldn't love a dream wedding? And then you realize, it actually costs a lot. And that kind of brings you down to earth a little bit. But as far as like the idea of a traditional wedding, of course.
So you think the Cinderella Prince Charming idea is still alive and well out there?
I like to think so. I like to believe that. I mean, there's a lot of things I like to believe, but as far as the traditional wedding is concerned, yeah. And it's funny. I mean, I haven't really talked to Christine about it, but her parents are divorced, and I'm like, I don't know what the plan is as far as who's walking who down the aisle there.
Yeah.
Maybe both. I don't know.
So it won't bother you though, one way or the other.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'd love for our listeners and our viewers to email us or go on Facebook right now. We're on Facebook Live, I believe, aren't we, Zach? Right now
we are.
We're live on Facebook.
Yeah.
So go to my Facebook page, Donna Arp Weitzman, to my professional page, and if you're not signed in, hit like, and it will sign you in, and you will be able to make some comments about, did you have an unusual situation in your wedding? Did you have someone other than your dad or, your uncle or your grandfather? We'd love to hear these things. These things help us with our viewers and with our listeners.
Yeah, and while we're on the subject of telling people to check us out on Facebook, if you are listening on iTunes, throw us a rating and review. We'd appreciate it. I don't know why I looked at the camera when I said that, because if they're listening, they can't see me. But yes, throw us a rating and review. We'd appreciate it. Next time we get together for the show will be Memorial Day. Yeah. And we'll be pre-recorded that day. Yeah. But that's okay. Yeah. We'll be back on soon doing more of this fun stuff, but get involved with the show. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we have a fun author. But today, I'm so excited. We've never had this on the show.
This is unique. But we have Judge Juan Jasso. Am I saying that right, Judge?
Jasso, just
Jasso.
like an H.
Jasso.
Judge Juan Jasso. And Facebook Live can see you, Judge, so wave at everybody. There he is.
It's my parade wave.
It's a good wave.
His beauty contest wave.
Practiced.
Who knows? He may be in London on Saturday. They made him a stand-in judge. But Judge Jasso is a justice of the peace and has been for 6 terms. Okay, so he has had lots of practice.
Yeah.
24 years, and now you're in your 7th term, I believe, right, Judge?
I'll be starting my 7th term in January. And for those of you out there, which I certainly didn't know, I met Judge Jasso at a party a couple of weeks ago, and when he said he was a justice of the peace, I said, well, I do a lot of things on love and relationships, and I would love to hear some stories about marrying people and some of the unusual things you've seen, some of your overall take, because you've been marrying people for 24 years. Yes, I have.
24 years. But what I did learn from the judge, and I just want to mention this, Zach, before we get the judge to start talking. Judge Jasso told me, I don't know if you know this, but you can go online now, and you can just, I guess, fill out something online, complete something online, and become a pastor, a reverend, a bishop, a priest,
well, not necessarily
rabbi.
Those specific titles, but I would say you can get ordained.
Okay, and then you can marry someone.
Really?
Yeah. So I guess it doesn't take very long.
This sounds like something you would do, Donna.
Well, I might just start marrying people, Judge, out in the lobby here.
Yeah, perfect.
What do you think? Well, Judge, tell us, you do marriages, and you obviously do a lot of other things. You are an elected official.
Yes.
So you run, and the people have to like you about once every 3 years.
Yes.
Which you serve 4-year terms, but you must be popular. I mean, you've been there a long time.
Well, my thought has always been, if you treat people right, or at least give them the dignity, respect, they might leave your courtroom perhaps not happy with your decision, but at least thinking that at least they were given a fair shake, an opportunity to be heard.
Okay. And I know you do marriages, but you also do things like evictions. Tell us some other things, and then we'll get into the wedding ceremony part.
Well, we do evictions. We do small claims. Has to be under $10,000, whatever is being sued for.
Okay.
We do, if a person needs an occupational driver's license because their driver's license has been suspended, we can do that. We do peace bonds whenever there's threats made. And other administrative things that DPS will sometimes bring in a case that they want to suspend a person's concealed handguns license because they've had some issues with the law and they can have their handgun license suspended. Okay. Not very often, but perhaps a few times a year. We also hear basically credit card debt cases.
And that's been growing, I bet, through the years.
It's been growing, and every time that they increase our jurisdictional limit, there's more cases. Now, there's talk at the next legislative session that they might want to increase it to
15 or 20,000 or more.
Oh, wow. What is it right now?
10,000.
10,000. Well, Judge, who's your boss?
Basically, my boss.
The voters?
The voters of Dallas County, Precinct 5, actually. Precinct 5. Technically, I guess you could say, since we are elected, or I'm elected, they're my boss. We are under the auspices or the umbrella of Dallas County.
Okay.
We are Dallas County judges, is what it is.
Okay.
And there's a commissioner's court and a county judge, and they control the purse strings, as it were, the budget, things of that nature.
Okay. Well, how many people do you think you've married? I know you probably don't. Have you counted them in 24 years of marrying people?
No. I you know what? I've never been a numbers person, so it's kind of like, I don't even think about how many people I've married. All I know is it's been a ton.
Do you marry someone every week?
I'd say yes, of course.
At least once a week?
Oh, yes. And it's like I may be at a Tom Thumb or at some other store, and people will come up to me and they go like, "You're Judge Jasso." And right off the bat, I'm thinking, one,
did I evict them?
One is they were there in court because of a case, or I married them, or depending on the age, when we used to do truancy court, some of these kids are kind of like, actually, like they may have been in truancy court. But anyway, they're all very happy. They all come and give me a hug, and they say, "You married my wife and my partner," and it's always that's the best part of the job in a sense.
Yeah. Well, so you've married at least, I would say, 500 couples.
At least.
Yeah. And tell us, do you have any unusual stories, where the mother maybe is saying, "No, don't marry them," or an ex-boyfriend comes in, or...
Well, not necessarily like that, but I remember several years ago I had gone to do a wedding outside the office on a Saturday. It was a ballroom. And, it was at a certain time, 6 o'clock, I think, and 6 o'clock rolls around. The guy's there, people are there, and 6:15 rolls around, and bride still isn't there, and they keep telling me she's on the way, she's on the way. 6:30 rolls around, and they say like, "Oh, the limo driver got lost. He's turning around. He's coming back." 6:45. I'm going like, you know what? I may have to leave because I do have other obligations. And right about that time, perfect timing, she walks in with the parents and everything, and I do the ceremony. It doesn't take very long to do the ceremony, and I'm on my way. A couple of weeks later, I went to do another wedding at the same ballroom, and the owner of the ballroom told me the rest of the story.
What was the rest of the story, Judge?
No.
Well, as it turned out, the limo driver wasn't lost. They were driving around the block in the limo
for her to
trying
decide.
to convince her that she should still proceed to get married. And finally, they convinced her to get married. And so, that's what happened. But afterwards, and I don't know what happened afterwards, but I was told that the rest of the night he was on one side of the building and she was on the other side with her family. So I don't know how long that marriage lasted, but while they were there, they seemed happy.
The justice of the peace, which is your job, don't do divorce.
We don't.
So you can't marry someone and then divorce them?
No.
Okay.
We can't divorce.
Okay.
We can just marry them.
Okay. Now, did you ever see the movie Sex and the City?
I never saw the movie.
Not
no,
the
I'm familiar
TV
with the
show, but the Sex and the City movie. Well, that's what happened. As they were getting married, Carrie was getting married to Mr. Big, and Mr. Big got cold feet and started driving round and round they were marrying in the New York City Library.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, and so it caused a big situation.
It stresses me out just thinking about it. Oh, wow.
And so, well, Judge, when you are doing a ceremony, do most of them happen at the courthouse?
Yes, right there in the courthouse. And what we try and do is schedule them around our court docket. We'll have certain cases, certain hours, and if I'll try and schedule them before we start and after we're done in the afternoon.
Yeah,
and that way it doesn't mess with people that are coming in for other reasons for their cases or whatever needs to be done. And
do you get paid to marry people?
We do charge a certain fee.
And does that go to the court?
That goes to my wife.
Now, Judge, this is not a good time in American history for you to say that. He is laughing.
No, yeah.
He is laughing. So, but they do pay a fee.
Yes.
Well, how much does it cost to get married?
Everybody's different. I charge $60.
$60.
And I think they're about the same, more or less. They're in the courtroom. There was one instance, and something that I've been doing for years. And this is just my personal take. I don't know what other judges might do. If they're active military, active police, active firefighters, I will not charge.
Oh, wow.
And that's just because
they're providing a service to us, and
they're putting their lives at stake. Since this is Police Memorial Week, earlier today went to DART, had their police memorial.
Yeah.
And one of the officers was Brent Thompson, who was killed in a couple of years ago downtown, along with the other officers. I married him a month before that happened.
Oh, wow.
See, that's a real story.
And then they kind of like, when it's that close, or and he would come to my court on the tickets that he would write. So all of my clerks knew him personally as well, so they were kind of like devastated as well when it happened. Of course. So kind of like, it's a little bit that I can do to honor our officers.
Well, that's significant, Judge. That is very significant.
And it doesn't happen very often also, but I remember a couple of years ago, there was this couple that came in, cute little child, looked to be like maybe a year and a half or 2 years. And they told me their story. They were living out of their car. They were basically homeless. They pulled together some money so they could pay for the marriage license. Marriage license still cost $81.
Is there a waiting list? Let me interrupt just one. Is there a waiting time now in Texas?
There's a 72-hour waiting period
72 hours.
Unless you can get a waiver from a district court judge or you're in the military.
I see. Okay.
That waives it. And there's a class called Texas Together that people can take. And if they take that class, it also waives the 72 hours. Oh. And it also waives, I believe, $60 off the marriage license fee as well.
Okay.
But when they came in and when they had first called in and just to make the appointment, I had told them, well, this is the price and so on and so forth. Didn't know the backstory until they arrived. And one of my clerks told me what their situation was. So after I did the ceremony and everything, and they left, I took pictures. I never take pictures really with my cell phone. People will take pictures with their cell phones or their cameras of me with a couple, with a family, and that's fine. I personally don't take them with my own phone.
Right.
And they left, and I didn't say anything. And they came back like 15 minutes later, and my clerks go like, they're back because they said they didn't pay you. I said, like, I wasn't going to charge them.
Oh.
So I told them to go back into the courtroom and then explain. And I told them why I wasn't charging them, because they needed it more than I did. And they had this cute little boy that was like 2 years old. Oh. And I asked them, would you mind if I took a picture with you? So I've always had that picture just to remind me, just to keep me grounded.
Keep your feet on the ground.
Keep my feet on the ground, that there's always circumstances in people's lives that might hamper their progress or whatever might be the case. But they felt so in love that they wanted to make it official, make it, do the ceremony, get the marriage license so they could move on.
Wow. For you listeners out there and you viewers, life does throw us a lot of curveballs. And it sounds like, Judge Jasso, you've seen a lot of curveballs through the years with these couples.
Marriages, performing marriages, it's like I said earlier, it's the best part of the job. It's kind of like people are happy,
excited.
They're glad to see you, and even afterwards, when they run into you, they're also excited that that they remember you or me in this case.
Have you ever seen them have a fight right there? I mean, not a physical fight, but right while you're trying to marry them?
Emotions.
Oh, no.
No, you've never seen that.
That never happens. Now, once they get outside the door, I don't know what happens.
but not in the courtroom.
No, but for the most part, everything is, they're having such a great time. And
do they mostly have family with them, or do they come alone?
It depends. Sometimes it'll just be the couple that comes in during their lunch break. Sometimes they'll come in with 20, 30 people,
Wow.
And the only time I will kind of put my foot down is when they ask, can we throw rice? Oh. I go like, nah, I don't think the cleaning crew would really appreciate trying to pick up all the rice. But I'll tell them, you can do it outside. That's fine.
So they have a party outside. Now, if the couple has children, like this one couple you mentioned, do they usually bring the kids with them?
Yes. And they will ask me, is it okay if we bring our kids or our baby and whatever? And I'll say, Of course, you can bring whomever you want to.
Oh.
In the instances, in a few times when somebody has come in, it's just the couple and perhaps a baby. And they don't have a witness. It's not required that you have witnesses anymore.
Oh, really? See, I was going to ask
But
that.
Wow.
if they do have someone and they would want somebody to sign as a witness, they can do so. And
Did they get their marriage license right then?
they can get it. Well, they can get it at our building. They can get it at other locations around the county. They can also get it downtown, and then wait the 72 hours or get the waiver and come back.
So no witness is required anymore for the
Nope.
listeners and viewers. That's interesting in Texas. Now, if you live in Texas, can you go to New Mexico and get married, or do you have to get married in your state?
The license is only valid in the state that you get it. So if somebody gets a license in Oklahoma and they want to get married here in Texas, that wouldn't be possible.
Wait, now.
Vice versa.
So let's say I live in Tyler, Texas, for those of you out there, and I want to go to Arkansas and get married. Am I married in Texas then, or just married in Arkansas?
Well, you wouldn't be married at all because the marriage license, if you got the marriage license in Texas, it wouldn't be valid in Arkansas. Now, if you go to Arkansas and get a marriage license in Arkansas, then yes, you can get married over there.
And I'm officially married.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
And it's like this, you can get the marriage license anywhere in Texas and get married anywhere in Texas as well.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is the marriage license has to be in the same state you get married.
Yes.
Okay, or you have to get married in the same state you have the marriage license.
Yes.
Yeah. So Zach, you can't get yours in New York and then marry in California on the
I
beach.
will watch out for that. Yeah. It's a shame. Beautiful beaches out there.
Sometimes people will do just for the legal side of it. They will get married here and then they'll do like a destination wedding in Cancun or
Yeah.
Baja or somewhere.
But they don't
in
have
the
to get another
Caribbean.
license.
No, for the most part they don't. And they find that it's actually cheaper just to do it here than to go over there and get a license over there, because I've heard that sometimes they'll charge them $1,000 or
Wow.
something.
Destination wedding. That's
So,
right. Yeah.
I mean, just for the license itself, right? Aside from everything else. But to this day, I'm still waiting for somebody to tell me, we want you to do the ceremony in Cancun and we'll pay for it. So far, nobody's taken me up on that offer.
Right. Yeah.
Pardon me. So, Judge, do you have some advice to give to married couples or those that are getting married? Just for 24 years of seeing all these different people come in and with relationships, are there any things that stand out to you that you want the listeners to hear about or the viewers?
When somebody asks me, and several times over the years, people or the parents or somebody have asked me, can you give them some advice? And I just I'll tell the guy, I'll tell him 2 very important words you need to remember and say often. Yes, dear. That will put an end to any argument. Just say, yes, dear.
Could you go to dinner with my husband tonight and
Oh,
give
God.
him that?
Oh, dear.
Yes, honey.
Judge,
Yes, dear.
I wanted to ask about this Texas Together program you'd mentioned. I'm not sure how much you know about it, but the idea of getting a marriage license fee waived and like skipping that period seems really interesting to me. So I was curious what that's about.
It's a class from what I understand.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how many hours you have to take it, but it is a class, and I guess they go over relationships and things of that nature. And,
Yeah.
And once that's done, whether it's 3 hours or 4 hours or 6 hours, however long it might be, they will give them a certificate.
Huh.
And that certificate they take to wherever they're going to get the marriage license.
Yeah.
And like I said, that will waive, the marriage license fee is $81. They'll waive like $60 off of that. So they pay $21 for the license itself.
Huh. That's really interesting.
Judge, have you seen the average age of your couples? Has that grown? Has it gotten older, or can you tell in 24 years?
Well, it just fluctuates. I remember back when I started, the legal age was 14.
14.
14.
14.
If you got signatures of your parents, okay?
Yeah.
Between 14 and 18, you did need a signature of your parents.
Okay.
There was this one couple. They were both 14. They both showed up with their parents. And, yeah, I could tell that perhaps the mom of the daughter, I believe, or maybe the son, I forget, she wasn't all that excited, but still, you know, she was supportive and did the ceremony and everything. And after they were taking pictures, she kind of whispers to me, you know, I'm really not 100% on board, but the thing is that if we didn't allow them to get married, they said they were going to elope. They were going to leave the house and be on their own. This way, they could still live in their home, finish high school, because they were going to make sure that they finished high school.
Right.
And that way, they could still be supportive.
Wow.
And I can see that. I can see that.
Of course.
A few years ago, they did up it to 16 years. So you don't have to be 16, but you still need a signature of a parent up to 18.
So a 14-year-old in Texas cannot get married, even with signatures of
Not
parents.
anymore.
You have to be at least 16.
You have to be at least 16 in order to get the marriage license.
And then you have to have your parents' approval, written approval, if you're under 18.
Yes, they
do
have to sign.
For the man and the woman.
Yes.
No difference. Okay.
Yes. Whoever is under the age of 18. So, and from that, it goes all the way up to.
What's the oldest you've married?
I think. There was this couple, and they were both like around 85 or 86.
Oh.
And Isn't that cute?
That is adorable.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about that situation was that I had married the granddaughter first, like about 6 months before.
Oh, wow.
And then like 3 months later, I married that girl's mom. And 3 months after that, I married the grandmother.
Oh, man.
You've married all 3 generations. That's incredible.
In reverse, oddly enough.
Yes. And you know, you hear all sorts of stories, and very uplifting stories sometimes. You know, there was this one time where this lady came in, and she, to make the appointment by herself, looked to be like in her mid-70s, perhaps.
Yeah.
And she told me, well, I'm going to tell you the backstory. I said, sure. She had been married initially back in the 1950s.
Okay.
Wow.
They stayed married for about 5 years or so, got divorced, as she said, because he didn't act right.
Okay.
So something happened there, right?
Yeah.
She remarried. Second husband was with him for like over 50 years.
Okay.
He died. Then somehow she reconnected to the first husband.
The one that didn't act right.
Yeah. And because they still kind of friendly, I guess.
Sure.
And they decided to get married again together.
Oh.
And she told me her mother-in-law told her at a certain point he never remarried.
Oh,
and
wow.
the reason he had never remarried was because, one, he knew he hadn't acted right. It was his fault. He loved her all this time.
Oh, that's...
But knew he couldn't get back together with her. But when she was again single, they reconnected, and they were going to get married again.
That is so romantic.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd love to hear from the listeners again and the viewers on anything unique like that you know. That is such a precious story.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. God, it's got to be like I was gonna say it's like winter rolls around. You got to try on. You put your old coat back on. It's like welcome
this
back.
feels
good.
good.
Made it.
Well,
another year.
And since we started doing same-sex marriages also a couple of years ago. One of the first marriages I did, this couple came in, and they had been together 44 years.
Oh,
wow.
And they said, I mean, you could see tears coming down their eyes.
Oh.
And as they told me, they never thought they would live to see the day.
Yeah.
And one of them had like an oxygen tank, you know, it's kind of hard for him to move around, but still, they wanted to make it official, you know.
In your court, do you see a lot of same-sex marriage?
We have been seeing quite a bit. Every week we'll see a couple here and there, 2 or 3, depending. You know, our precinct, it comprises Oak Lawn, Winnetka Heights, Kessler Park.
Plus, you're in Oak Cliff
In Oak
as well.
Cliff. And so, you know, from all over the county. And a lot of it is word of mouth also.
Oh, okay.
My staff, I think sometimes they are more excited about the weddings that sometimes the couples are, right?
Oh.
I mean, we have one clerk that she will escort them in and tell them what's going to happen. And if there's just the couple by themselves, they don't have anybody else, she'll ask them to give her their phone, and she'll start taking pictures. and even if they have somebody that is taking pictures with their phone, if she doesn't quite like the way that they're being set up, she'll take it away and go like, no, let me do this for you.
See, I think that would be a very fulfilling career. Don't
it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
that's
it's
for
a
sure.
lot
Never
more
a dull
fun
moment.
than doing a lot of other jobs. That'd be for sure. Judge Jasso, you have been just a delight. Do you have anything else you want to tell our audience other than in about 2 years, those of you down in Oak Lawn, Oak Cliff, Winnetka Heights, and those places need to vote for Judge Jasso.
Yeah.
I can
Well,
tell
4
you
more
that.
years. 4 more years.
4 more years.
We're okay
Sorry.
for 4 more years.
4 years.
Yeah, 4 more years. But
Yes.
what a delight to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
I've never had Justice of the Peace on the show.
Yeah.
And I've never heard it from their perspective. So we so appreciate that. Zach, what do you have to say to Judge Jasso other than, you might be in his court one of these
Yeah,
days?
gosh, sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, thanks for coming on. Surprising amount of good information I've gotten out of this whole thing. It's something probably coming over the horizon at some point for me, getting married.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'll keep an eye out for it.
Well, and we know you do lots of other things too, but the
That too.
marriage and wedding ceremonies were just of interest to us and to our viewers.
Yeah.
Well, and Donna, thank you so much for having me on. It was a blast. I had a great time.
We'd love to have you back. Anytime you have any unique stories,
I have
we wanna
100
hear
unique
them.
stories, but I don't think we can do it all in the few minutes we have today. But I'll come back.
You
I'll come
just
back.
tune in anytime too and send
Yes.
us a remark
I
because we're
will.
always
I
on
will.
Facebook Live. So, Zach, I guess I'll see you in a few days.
Yeah, not too far from now.
We have an author coming on. She's going to talk about Winston Churchill and how he fell in love with Coco Chanel.
Aw.
Can you believe that?
Winston
now
Churchill.
that would be a duo to marry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So Judge Jasso, if we see them out, and about any of these famous people, we're going to send them to your court.
That's right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for seeing us. Goodbye,
Thank
everyone. We enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Zach, take care of yourself.
Aw, thanks, Donna.
See you soon.
See ya.